everyone. My name is Linda Flor. I am the Senior Policy and Campaigns Organizer at the Immigrant Defense Project, and this is my co-MC, Rosa. You want to introduce yourself really quickly?
Hi, everyone. My name is Rosa Cohen-Cruz. I'm the Director of Immigration Policy with the Bronx Defenders.
Thank you so much, everybody who's here today. Day after day, the Trump administration's plan to target, criminalize, and disappear members of our immigrant community escalates. Just in the past 2 months, we have seen this administration disappear fathers and young men to the notorious Seacop mega prison in El Salvador without any form of due process.
Shame!
Shame! In Sackett's Harbor, we witnessed ICE abduct a mother and her 3 young children, handcuffing the family and throwing them in the back of a van. Shame! And just last week, the attacks against New York farm workers continued as we watched videos of a Lionette and Sons transport bus be pulled over by ICE as they detained 14 farm workers on their way to work.
Shame!
While this administration continues to show no bounds for its cruelty, all of us here are asking ourselves, where is New York leadership? How many more families need to be separated before the legislature wakes up and decides it's time to take action? How many more New York families will have to continue to live in fear that today may be the last time they see their loved ones? Let it be very clear, inaction is complicity. And without intervention from our New York State leadership, we will continue to allow the Trump administration to destabilize our communities, devastate our economy, and put a strain on critical state resources. We have done their work for them and have delivered the legislative solutions, one of them being the NY4All Act. This critical piece of legislation would prohibit local and state agencies from colluding with ICE so that our New York dollars aren't being spent on terrorizing New York families. If the legislature is waiting for the right political moment to act, I can speak for all of us here and say, wake up. The time is now. When is the time? Now! We need a vote now. Pass NY4All and stop the complicity.
We need to pass NY4All, and we also need to pass the Dignity Not Detention Act. This bill prevents local jails from being used for immigrant detention. And I'm going to do something kind of odd for an Albany rally. I'm going to talk a little bit about New Jersey. New Jersey is showing New York up when it comes to elected officials standing up for immigrants. And in fact, they are standing up for immigrant New Yorkers. They passed the Dignity Not Detention Act years ago, closing horrific local jails that were holding New York residents. And now they are putting their lives and bodies on the line to prevent the reopening of Delaney Hall, again, which will be primarily used to hold New York residents. This past week, the mayor of Newark, Ross Baraka, put his body on the line and was arrested while protesting ICE detention in his state. Meanwhile, New York State leadership stays silent. And silence really is violence right now. When ICE is disappearing our neighbors, our classmates, our friends, we cannot sit by. They are undermining due process, and instead of standing up to this, New York State is complicit. We've entered, in the last year, we have entered into more agreements for ICE enforcement and ICE detention. That is a shame. Shame! As a born and raised New Yorker, I am ashamed of my state right now. This must end now. New York must act now, and we must pass the NY4All and Dignity Not Detention Acts now. Thank you. I'm now going to invite to the podium Guillermo, an upstate farm and business owner and a member of Columbia County Sanctuary Movement.
Buenas tardes. Buenas. So, as a farmer, we've been hit with a lot of rain lately, a lot of dark skies, and we're really happy that we have a bit of light to get back to work, to get back to our families, to do what we do. And yet, we know that there are some dark skies ahead in the forecast. But we need to rely on the light. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Thank you to those who are present for letting your light shine on this Capitol in the hopes that the citizenry and the electeds of this state can stand with and support the immediate passage of the Dignity Not Detention and the New York for All Act. Let your light shine on the 12 farmers who were dragged off the bus in Albion, Orleans County, New York. Let your light shine on the dairy workers of Jefferson County as they were raided and disappeared. Shine your light on the Mayor Baraka of New Jersey, demonstrating leadership and courage, putting his body on the line for what's right. Shine your light on the 1,000 Lake Ontario neighbors who fought the border czar in his own den to retrieve a mother and her child from despair. Shine your light on our neighbor state and the women of Worcester being thrown down, face down, on the ground, their children torn away by uniformed men. Continue to shine your light on the institutions, the agents, and the officers who collude with ICE. May your spirit melt their freezing anger and the zealot nature. Let the right of your collective moral high ground beam down on those cold, indifferent hearts and soften it back to a nature of service and duty. All up in my house, it's gonna let it shine. All up in my house, I'm gonna let it shine. All up in my house, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. We stand in your house. Whose house is this? Our house. I said, whose house is this? Our house. And as the masters of this house, I ask you to use your political enfranchisement and direct your sworn representatives to serve you faithfully. Do not allow those who have been elected to serve the people to continue to obfuscate their role and responsibility in the matter of protecting all New Yorkers' civil liberties and civil rights. For those members of the Assembly and the Senate who hide in the corners of these halls, refusing to co-sponsor and champion the Dignity Not Detention Act and the New York for All Act, shine your light on them. Yes, I'm talking to you, Ms. Dee Dee Barrett, Democrat, representative of my home, D106. Yes, I am talking to you, Mr. Carl Hastie, Democrat, the majority leader of the Assembly. And yes, ma'am, I am talking to you, Mrs. Andrea Stewart Cousins, Democrat, Senate Majority Leader. Together, we must cast them out of the shadows of indifference or political gamesmanship and have them, our brother and sisters in this legislature, stand in the sun with us. Shine a light on this legislature's inability to take the Dignity Not Detention and New York for All Act out of the Codes Committee in both Assembly and the Senate. Let New York for All have its day in the sun. Let it stand for a vote. Let all the people's representatives have the opportunity to decide. My people, shine your light on Chairman Jeffrey Denowitz of District 81, who heads the Codes Committee in the Assembly. Write that down, people. Mi gente, shine your light on Chairman Zellner Myrie of District 20, who heads the Codes Committee of the Senate. Write that down. Know that in the next 4 remaining weeks of this legislature, the nation will watch either your courage or your cowardice. And in this moment, know that your fellow New Yorkers will shine a light on you. To these leaders of the Codes Committee and all its members, do not let the sun set on this legislature without giving the Dignity Not Detention Act and the New York for All Act a chance to be debated, a chance to be voted on. Don't leave the Dignity Not Detention New York for All Act and the New Yorkers it is destined to protect in the shadows. We won't let you keep them in the dark. To those who stand here today and to those across our state who will join our campaign to call and petition their representatives for the next 4 weeks, reach out to these men and women of the New York State Assembly and the Senate and remind them to have solace and courage. Remind them that you are the light of the world. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works And the good works we ask of you is to let democracy have its day in the sun. Usher the New York for All Act onto the floor for a vote. And pass New York for All, because everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Thank you so much, Guillermo, for your powerful testimony. I also want to give a huge shout out to the unions that are here today. We are joined from members of 1199. Let's make some noise for them. Members of 32BJ, Nice Knot, and we also have 14 unions who have currently signed on to the New York for All Act, urging leadership to take a stand and pass New York for All immediately. And with that being said, I'd like to welcome one of our fellow union allies, Anika Smith-Watson, union member at 1199 and medical assistant at New York Presbyterian Brooklyn Pathologist Hospital. Anika, please step forward.
Good afternoon, everyone. Guillermo, you left me some big shoes to fill. I hope I could do it. 1199 and all the unions. We're here. We're going to do this. I'm a medical assistant at the Brooklyn Hospital in New York, Methodist Hospital. 1199 is demanding that the legislation pushes the bill and passes the bill for New York for all and for the dignity of detention. In my city, as we call it, the melting pot of the world, we have people who are, sorry. My neighbors, my patients, my friends, my family, my colleagues, my union members, their families are all in fear because you know what? We have to go through the day thinking we're going to work and at any time we can be pulled over. Going to work, taking care of patients who come into us to make sure that their health is in proper care, that they feel safe. And that, with this new administration, that's being hindered because the new administration wants to come into our hospitals and have ICE ask for patients' information, their status. We work with these patients, okay? We work with these patients. Some of them have to come into us for their health because they can't get proper health in their countries. So they come to America, they come to New York to get proper health, to get proper education, okay? And they're not coming out anymore because of fear. They were fearful during COVID. COVID passed. Now they were able to come out with their home health aides, their families. Now they can't do that. They have to stay in fear because now ICE can come in and decide that they're going to pick them up, question them, hold them, detain them, even send them off. Why? We're a sanctuary city. This should never be happening. This doesn't need to happen. New York needs to stand up and make their voice known and protect all of our immigrants and even our basic civil who are citizens here. Okay? Take care of them. Let them know that this cannot happen because you know what? New York was made for immigrants. Immigrants maintain New York. And if we don't have that, there is no more. There's no more New York. There's no more melting pot. There's no more America. Stop this injustice. Stop it now. 1199 is asking that we stop it now and we pass the bill, pass the act. New York for all. We need it passed now.
Happy as the Bronx Defenders to be introducing one of our champion legislators, the assembly sponsor of both the Dignity Not Detention and New York for All Acts, Assemblymember Cardenas Reyes.
Good afternoon. Is labor in the house? Yeah. Is labor in the house? You know, one of our strategies is to demonstrate just how much this bill impacts every single person in our state, in every corner of our state, not just immigrants. And when you look at the faces and all of the labor unions that are represented here behind me today, we are saying that this is a workers' rights bill. This is a human rights bill. And this is an issue that impacts all of us. If New York truly cares about its workforce and its economic well-being, then we would take this bill seriously. We would debate it. We would put it up for a vote. Because when we say that our healthcare workers, our construction workers, our food industry workers, the people who take care of our children, our educators, our farmers, every worker in the state of New York is being impacted by these immigration policies. And this is just not the values of New York. And I am calling on leadership to have the political courage to stand up and do what's right. Because history does not look fondly on the meek. History does not look fondly on people who capitulate to tyrants. We need to stand our values. And what's happening right now is antithetical to the fabric of America. So many immigrants come to the United States because they are escaping lawlessness. They want a country that's safe, where they can work without fear, where they can feed their families, where they can send their children to school and be educated, where there are opportunities for them to progress. That is the American dream. The American dream that some people are trying to protect but are failing to realize that the American dream does not exist without immigrant America. So, the America I know and love is an America that has opened its doors to immigrants, to working class people. And, you know, what's happening at the federal government is supposed to have a chilling effect. It's really supposed to quiet us down. So I want to thank everybody who's here, who's had the courage to stand up, to all of my colleagues who continue to show up on this issue, who continue to speak truth to power, who see every person in our communities, every single person, independently of whether they have a piece of paper or not, as the human beings and contributors of our communities, and who continue to demand that we pass New York for All and Dignity Not Detention. We shouldn't be in the business of immigration detention. We didn't need to be in that business before, but more so now, when we see how immigration detention is being used to remove people from our communities without due process. There is nothing less American than taking somebody's due process away. It is the tenets, one of the foundations of our country. The fact that you will have your day in court. And immigrant New Yorkers are not given that opportunity. As a matter of fact, even immigrants with regulated status are not given that opportunity. And it's only a matter of time before U.S. citizens who speak up against this administration are not going to be given due process either. So if we don't stand up now, we have much more to lose than we think. Thank you all.
It is my pleasure pleasure to introduce our other co-sponsor of the New York for All Act, our champion and our leader in this fight, Senator Andrew Gennardis.
Hello, hello. So the one thing I hate about doing a press conference after Assemblymember Karina Reyes is because she says everything so well and so perfectly and so beautifully, there's nothing left for me to say. So thank you, Karinas. I am State Senator Andrew Gennardis from Brooklyn. Anyone here from Brooklyn? This is a moment that calls for moral clarity. This is a moment that summons in every decent human being alive right now to make a choice. Will you stand on the side of righteousness and fairness and dignity? Or will you stand on the other side? Will you stand on the side of those who are trying to build a life for themselves and their families? Or will you stand on the side of those who are willing to take people off the streets and disappear them without any due process of law? Are you going to stand with those who believe in the promise of this country? Or are you going to stand on the side of those who never knew what the promise of this country really was, because that's why they can't speak the truth about it today? This is a moment of moral clarity. This is a time for us to stand up and unequivocally say, we will not allow ourselves or our government to be complicit in the deportation dragnet that is going across this country right now. We will not allow ourselves and our government to be complicit in the separation of families. We will not allow ourselves and our government to be complicit in the destruction and the desecration of that American dream that brought my grandfather here 100 years ago and brought some of your family's members here as recently as yesterday. Because that is what unites all of us together, is this belief that our country holds promise for everyone who wants to believe in it. And what we see right now is a federal government that does not believe in that, a federal government that never believed in that, and a federal government that is doing everything it can to spit on that dream that so many of us hold dear. Not going to happen on our watch. Thank you, everyone.
I want to acknowledge the many elected officials that have shown up. Assemblymember Epstein, Assemblymember Valdez, Assemblymember Rosenthal, Assemblymember Cruz. We have so many champions in our midst right now. I also want to take this moment to ground us in the morality of what we are talking about here and bring up two incredible faith leaders, Reverend Chloe Breyer from the Interfaith Center of New York and Reverend Adrian Thorne, the senior minister from the Riverside Church.
Good afternoon. My name is Reverend Chloe Breyer. I'm director at the Interfaith Center of New York and also over at St. Edward the Martyr in East Harlem on 109th. And I'm here today to ask our elected officials to pass New York for All. And I can think of three reasons why. First has to do with as a person of faith, our respect that our traditions across the board have for welcoming the stranger. That is not a Christian idea, that is not a Jewish idea, that is not a Buddhist idea. That is an idea for all faith traditions. We love our neighbors, right. We welcome the stranger. The second reason has to do with this bill will strengthen our democracy. Our democracy requires the rule of law. Our democracy requires that everyone is equal under the law. What we are seeing now is a group of people who think they are above the law, right, and those who must abide by it. What the Greeks used to say, the power of might equaling right. When we see ICE officers taking people out without due process, the next step will be our elected officials who disagree with them. And the final reason is that we must pass this bill because we cannot let New Jersey show us up. Right. And what I mean by that is we can't let our New Jersey elected officials show up our elected officials. Yesterday, I was with a group of 30 faith leaders. We were sitting down in front of Delaney Street at the Delaney Detention Center. We went there to sit down, to put ourselves on the line, because Mayor Baraka had done the same thing just a few days before. He said, I want to get into this detention center because it doesn't have a certificate of occupancy, and this is my town, Newark. And what they did was they took the law into their own hands and arrested him. Well, in the words of...
Shame.
Sorry?
Shame.
Shame is right. And just to close us out, it's worth remembering Ben Franklin's response to that woman who went to him and asked if we had a republic, and he responded, yes, ma'am, if we can keep it. And it is our job now to keep our democracy. Thank you.
Woo! Yeah. Woo! And friends, today as a person of faith, I am thinking today about our holy text that lifts up a queen named Esther. The people reminded Esther, who was a person of power, that she came to power for such a time as this. And we say to our elected officials in the New York State Legislature, what are you doing if you cannot act on behalf of our communities for such a time as this? We did not vote for this. We did not vote for cruel and inhumane practices and policies. We did not vote for the separation of families. We didn't vote for the disappearance and deportation of immigrants, as well as American citizens, some as young as 2 years old. We didn't vote for the elimination of due process. We voted for you, New York legislators, and we expect you to use your power for such a time as this.
Amen.
This is New York State. Right? Do your job. We show the nation how it's done. We show the world how it's done. The federal government has acted cruelly, callously, covertly, but we're New York. And in the words of Kendrick Lamar, they not like us. Right? They not like us. They not like us. New York State legislators, our faith diversity and our neighbors make our state great. Pass NY4All. Pass the Dignity Not Detention Act and remind the world who we are. Powerful for such a time as this. Thank you.
Next, I'd also like to acknowledge Senator Gonzalez and Senator Harcum for joining us. Thank you so much. I know we have a lot of electeds who are coming in, which is great. I also wanted to take the moment to introduce another one of our incredible leaders in this fight, Assemblymember Matthias, who will share a few words with us. Woo!
Gracias a todos que se levantaron temprano para venir acá a hablar con los legisladores por algo que debe ser sencillo. Si esta es una ciudad santuaria, tenemos la autoridad y la oportunidad de asegurar que todo el pueblo, toda la gente esté segura. Le quiero hacer recordar a la gobernadora que es madre, que es abuela, que es inmigrante, que ella tiene una responsabilidad y es proteger al pueblo. Que estamos a punto de terminar nuestro tiempo aquí en Albany y sería injusto irnos sin terminar el trabajo que tenemos que hacer. I want to remind the governor, who's a mother, who's a grandmother, and has also spoken about her immigrant roots, that we are in a very unique position. to assure that we can give the people of the state of New York the safety that they need and deserve. That it would be unjust for us to leave Albany and to leave session without doing one of our most important jobs. And I want to thank her for speaking up about the state of New York being a sanctuary city. But the truth is that the world is watching us and is watching as we do nothing at a time when our people need us the most. They're asking questions about status later. That's because they don't care. And to my colleagues who are nervous about this topic because of their districts, I'm willing to hold your hand through this process. We're all here willing to walk with you, but we need you to take that first step, and I know that it's not easy. The world is watching us, and we have an opportunity to show them the compassion and the leadership that New York has always shown. Para mi gente que tiene miedo, no están solos. Busquen ayuda, no se queden callados. Y más importante, sepan dónde están yendo. Porque yo, igual con mis otras colegas, sí estamos dispuestos a pararnos y a enfrentarnos y ayudarlos en cualquier manera que es necesario. Pero eso empieza aquí, con el trabajo de nosotros como legisladores y pasar la legislación más importante en este momento, el NY4All, y no olvidemos el Dignity Not Detention. Lo que hemos visto en New Jersey es solamente el principio. Van a tratar todo lo que puedan y nosotros tenemos que estar preparados.
Aquí estamos y no nos vamos. Y si nos echan, nos regresamos. Aquí estamos y no nos vamos. Y si nos echan, nos regresamos.
I have spoken to as many of my colleagues that are willing to listen to address the inhumaneness that is happening with the federal government. And I know some of them just don't care. So let me remind you and talk to you about something that you do care: capitalism, money, and our workforce. And this is already impacting our workforce. We have an opportunity to move. It is embarrassing that New Jersey has already done this. But we are here standing together to say that we are committed to making sure that this passes. Estamos aquí para asegurar que el poder sepa que no están solos, que el pueblo tiene el poder y que nosotros le vamos a representar. Gracias.
Thank you so much, Assemblymember Matthias. And I do want to shout out our incredible artist, Hanji Jang, who was the artist who created this beautiful NY4All cave. So shout out to you. Thank you so much. Right here. Woo! Next up, I'd like to introduce Uche Onwa, National Civic Engagement Coordinator at Baji and founder and executive director at the Black Diaspora Liberty Initiative. Uche, the floor is yours.
How you all feeling today? Good. Well, you guys already know that I always like to start with a chant, so please do that with me. What do we want? Dignity. What do we want? Dignity. What do we want? Dignity. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? NY4All. We're going to do NY4All. What do we want? NY4All. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? NY4All. When do we want it? Now. If we don't get it, shut it down. If we don't get it, if we don't get it, if we don't get it, thank you all. My name is Uche Onwa, and I serve as the National Civic Engagement Coordinator with the Black Alliance for Just Immigration, and also as the Executive Director for the Black Diaspora Liberty Initiative. At Baji, we fight for the rights and dignity of Black migrants and African Americans, and at BDLI, we advocate for the liberation and well-being of Black LGBTQ plus migrants, building a world where people not only survive but thrive fully, freely, and without fear. We gather here today because immigrant communities in New York are still living in fear. Families are being torn apart. People are being detained, disappeared, and criminalized for who they are, where they are from, and what they look like. Let me share something deeply personal. I am not here today just as an advocate or an organizer. I am here as a survivor of the very system we are fighting to dismantle. 8 years ago today, I landed at the Atlanta airport, and I was shackled from my hand to my waist down to my feet, and was dragged to an ICE detention center where I was incarcerated for 3 months. Shame on ICE. As a Black gay man from Nigeria, I fled my home country to escape violence and dangerous persecutions just for being myself. I came to the United States seeking protection, hoping for safety. Instead, I was met with ICE detention, shackled to a hospital bed while sick. I was denied medical care, and I was left without mental health support. Those experiences weren't just traumatizing, they were dehumanizing, and they fueled my commitment to make sure that no one else has to suffer in silence. And this is why I fight. Let us be clear, Black immigrants are disproportionately targeted by immigration enforcement system. We make up less than 7% of non-citizen population in the US, yet we account for the over 20% of those deported on criminal grounds. That is not an accident. That is a system of systemic anti-Blackness operating in plain sight. Shame. Right now here in New York, it is no different. Nearly 1 in 3 Black immigrants detained in New York has experienced prolonged detention, often without legal representation. Black immigrants are more likely to be placed in solitary confinement and face harsher treatment in ICE custody. And for Black LGBT immigrants, like myself, the stakes are even higher. Many flee life-threatening persecution only to land in detention centers filled with abuse, neglect, and homophobia. For us, deportation isn't just displacement, it's a potential death sentence. I am still heartbroken by the death of Fabi Frederick, a Black transgender woman whom took her life because of the experiences she went through in ICE detention. These are not just statistics. These are our neighbors, our loved ones, our community members being punished simply for existing at the intersection of Blackness, queerness, and migration. And yet, despite all this, Black migrants continue to contribute immensely to our communities. We are workers. We are artists. We are business owners. We are healers. We are educators. We are leaders, we are CEOs, we are organizers, and many more. We drive the economy of this country. We shape culture. We fight for justice even when that justice is denied to us. So when we call for the passage of New York for all and dignity not detention, we are not just asking for policy change. We are demanding protection, freedom, and life. These bills are not just legislation. They are liberation. They are the difference between fear and freedom. They are how we stop the silent disappearance of our communities. So to our lawmakers, let me absolutely clear this. If you say Black Lives Matter, prove it. If you say that you stand with immigrants, act like it. Pass New York for all. Pass dignity not detention. And pass them now. Because we are done waiting. We are done being polite. And we are done being disappeared. And to those who will seek to divide us with fear, lies, and xenophobic rhetoric. We will not be swayed by fear-mongering. We will stand united in defense of our people, our dignity, and the right to exist. Say this with me. No more cages.
No more cages.
No more silence.
No more silence.
No more stolen lives.
No more stolen lives.
Pass New York for all.
Pass New York for all.
Pass dignity, not detention.
Pass dignity, not detention.
Pass it now.
Pass it now.
And I will leave you with this famous quote from me. If you are not hungry for justice, it is because you are full with privileges. Thank you.
Thank you, Uche. I'd now like to invite up another one of our champions in the Assembly, Assemblymember Cruz.
Can I borrow the snow ¿Le puedo pedir, mami, que quiero que se vean las... No, mami, para que se vean todos. These, and the gentleman who has the picture, Kilmar and Andre up there. These are the faces of the people who keep disappearing from our community. They're not some stranger. They're not some gangster. They're not some random person you've never seen. These are the faces of the people in our community who have disappeared. Their dads, their sisters, they are LGBTQIA folks. They are dads that were waiting for the birth of their child. They're students that were simply looking to have their First Amendment right. They are our neighbors. So don't let the news distort what's actually happening, because this wasn't about going after the criminals. This wasn't about going after the people who are coming to our country to tear it apart. These were folks who were working, who were paying taxes, who were making sure that they were contributing to our community, who had their children in our schools, who probably owned property, who were working, who were paying taxes, who were paying taxes, who were paying taxes, who were paying taxes. But that's not good enough. You know why? What do they all have in common? They're not white. And I want you to pay attention to that part, because this morning you saw, or was that yesterday, the new plane of folks coming who were actually welcome as refugees from a country where it's not been recognized, that there's a genocide happening. But you know, we owe somebody a little favor, because nothing's free around here. You know exactly who's behind it, and he owns Twitter. I'm not calling it the other name, because that's what he owns. So I want us to understand that this is, as the gentleman before me said, about privilege. The privilege to get to walk around and not fear. And I want to also remind everyone else who thinks they have the privilege, now you don't. Because now they can pick up any of us, regardless of where you were born, in this country or not in this country, and disappear you for a couple of hours, just like they did to a black mayor who was born in this country. That's right, yes. So if you think you have that privilege, I'm telling you right now, you do not. So it's time for us at the legislative level, at the government level, to realize, you know what? It could be any of us, and it's going to be some of us. And so it's time, and I want to thank, I saw the unions here, and I was so excited, because I got to tell you, for those of you who were around here during Green Light, you guys helped make that last difference, and I appreciate you for being here. But I also appreciate the folks who have been here since day one. The abuelitas, the tios, the people who have been from all over the state taking their time to come here to make sure that we are listening to your voice. And we can't, and the young people too, and the babies, the mamas who bring the babies too, I love that. We can't leave anyone behind, because it is a sad moment when we have become disposable. We, the immigrants, we, the black folk, we, the Latino folk, we, the queer folk, anyone who's not them has become disposable. And we don't seem to matter to them unless it's election time. And so Many of our own stood with the other side, and they're getting, I was going to say, le dieron de la sopa for the Latinos. They're drinking, they drank the Kool-Aid, and now they're choking a little bit. And so what we need to remind folks is the power of that vote. You don't stand with us, we don't forget. Our children don't forget. Our tias don't forget. Anyone who can vote is not going to forget. Because for every single one of these folks here who has disappeared, they have a loved one left behind who's not going to forget who in government stood with them and who did not. And so let's not leave Albany without reminding folks that we're standing with them. And for folks who say, well, he's going to come and try to arrest us anyways. He's going to violate the law because he's been doing it in other states. And you know what? They're right. But what NY4All gives us is that power to then go to court and sue him back. It's that power to say, we're not cooperating with you. We're not going to be complicit in the crime of disappearing humans. And all I'm here to say is, I've been standing with you all along. I'm going to continue to stand with you, and hopefully we don't have to do this again next year. Pero antes de irme, no me puedo ir sin darle un saludito a mi gente que siempre viene desde todas las partes del estado, desde las granjas, desde los barrios, desde todas las partes donde habemos inmigrantes, porque estamos en todos lados. Gracias por venir y luchar, porque por cada uno de ellos, por cada uno de ustedes, hay cientos muertos de miedo escondidos que no pueden hacer esto. Gracias por estar aquí, y de aquí no nos vamos sin toda nuestra gente. Gracias.
Estamos y no nos vamos. Y si nos echan, nos regresamos. Aquí estamos y no nos vamos. Y si nos echan, nos regresamos. Y no nos echan porque luchamos.
I want to invite up another one of our longtime supporters in the Assembly, Linda Rosenthal. Thank you so much. Please come and speak out.
Hi, everyone. I'm Assemblymember Linda Rosenthal. I represent the Upper West Side, parts of Hell's Kitchen in Manhattan, and I am the daughter and granddaughter of immigrants. 86-something years ago, my family had to flee Nazi Germany, and they came to New York. So it is my obligation, my moral obligation, to side with those who attempted the same journey for some of the similar reasons. People aren't coming here because the streets are paved with gold. People are coming here because they're fleeing any manner of abuse, discrimination, torture. People are coming here because they want a better life for themselves and their children. Now, we used to talk about Las Madres de Plaza de Mayo in Argentina. And we would say, oh, that's terrible. Children have been disappeared by the military government, never to be found again. Well, folks, that's happening right here in New York State. Shame. Have we become a military dictatorship? Well, they're acting like that, and so we have to be the guards. We have to be the defenders. We have to be the ones who say, not on our watch. And that is why I'm such a strong supporter of both bills. I am out here with all of you, and I applaud you because you could stay home. It might be safer for some of you to stay home. But you're here, we're here with you, and let's get this done.
No se nos duerman. All right, next up, first I'd like to say that what we're seeing happen in our communities is touching many, many parts of New York. I have the honor of introducing Dr. Steve Ochbeck from New York Doctors Group, who will be speaking from his medical professional perspective.
So yes, I'm Dr. Steve Auerbach with the New York Doctors Coalition, here to support the NY4All and Dignity Not Detention and the entire pro-immigrant and refugee agenda for the same reasons you've been hearing morally and from a legal perspective and a rights perspective and a this ought to be America perspective. But I'm going to bring a little health and healthcare perspective. You know, as a matter of public health and safety, and let me preface this by saying I was a career public health doctor for the federal government, U.S. Public Health Service, 30-year career. I'm also a pediatrician. We are all safer when everybody living among us is safe and knows that if they do need to see a doctor, if they do need to go to the hospital, they can do so safely. If your neighbor has a fever and a cough, it is safer for you if they can access health care than have to hide it. And it is a big lie. It is the biggest of lies. Well, there's so many big lies nowadays, it's hard to rank them. It is a big lie that immigrants are somehow bringing diseases to this country. Let me tell you something. First-generation immigrants live longer than native-born Americans. That's simply a fact. As a matter of economics, it's another big lie that immigrants are somehow a drain on our economy or a drain on our health care. Immigrants, including those without legal status, are net contributors on our tax system, net contributors to Medicare and Social Security. Let me tell you, to be blunt, it is young, current immigrants who are paying for old MAGA's Medicare. And it is also the case that immigrants are overwhelmingly making up a portion of the healthcare workers, our caregivers, our home healthcare workers, our child care workers. We have critical shortages in these areas. If grandma's going to get a home health aide, it's probably an immigrant. Don't send them to ICE detention, for God's sakes. Finally, it is, of course, the moral right that this should be the case, that America should be welcoming of immigrants. Now, I happen to be Jewish. As we've learned, Jews, like the Irish and Italians, were provisionally white, as Trump has reminded us lately. Jews of my generation were taught, as part of our cultural heritage, as part of growing up, I'm sure Representative Rosenthal, Member Rosenthal, had the same story growing up, that it was shameful that the American doors were closed as Hitler took power in Europe, and that the immigrants and refugees fleeing from fascist Europe were not allowed in, were turned away, the boats went back to Europe, and the people were slaughtered. We were taught that that was a shame, that was shanda. I called not only on my fellow conditional whites, but all my fellow whites. Remember where your parents came from, your grandparents came from, your great-grandparents came from. If your last name is O'Reilly, if your last name is Ryan, if your etc., if your last name is Ricardo, your parents came over here as immigrants by choice. Many of them came here without papers unto the next generation. Now, as a pediatrician, my wife's a family doc, we care for children and their families. We have a professional as well as ethical commitment to take care of them regardless of status. We don't ask that. And I have to ask all of you, which side are you on? Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
Next, I want to invite up to the podium Melanie Dominguez, the organizing director of the Cattell Center.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Melanie Dominguez. I am the organizing director at the Cattell Center for Equity, Health, and Justice. Our neighbors, our friends, and our family members are living in a constant state of fear, and that is not right. Since taking office, Trump's extreme deportation agenda has resulted in criminalizing, incarcerating, and disappearing members of our community without due process. In New York City, Mayor Eric Adams, in a quid pro quo, has agreed to collaborate with Trump, and he's now attempting to allow ICE to reopen an office at Rikers Island to further criminalize and deport more New Yorkers, and to that we say, hell no. Hell no! Right now, the conditions in New York State prisons and jails and prisons are horrific and life-threatening for incarcerated people. Instead of letting ICE utilize these facilities to tear families apart, we should be fighting to address the deadly conditions in the correctional facilities and shutting them down by overhauling the State Commission of Correction. These unprecedented times require legislative leaders in New York State to stand up for our communities and fight back against President Trump's harmful policies that will only continue to harm Black, brown, and immigrant New Yorkers. It's time to pass New York for all and dignity, not detention. When immigrants are under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
I said, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
What do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
Thanks, y'all.
Our final speakers today are a reminder that this is about the next generation as well. I'm excited to bring up Ruth Romero and Amy Hereda of Adelante Student Voices and Make the Road Youth Power Project.
Thank you so much, and good morning, everyone. My name is Ruth Romero. I'm a student of and a member of Adelante Student Voices and Columbia County Sanctuary Movement, and a proud Venezuelan immigrant. My parents came to this country escaping a dangerous dictatorship to seek a better future for our family. Since arriving, I have given everything my best efforts. I have been on the high honor roll and was inducted into the National Honor Society in less than 2 years. But just like me, thousands of young people with dreams are afraid that they might be unjustly separated from their family, school communities, and dreams. Our very own rights are even at risk, as they are being violated by day across the country, and this isn't right. So standing here in unity with you all, I call you, Governor Hochul, Assemblyman Carl Hesta, and Senator Andrea Stewart Cousins, and committee chairs to pass New York for All and Dignity Not Detention out of committees and bring them to the floor for a vote now. I refuse to stand idly by knowing that my family can be the next at risk. Students, youth, and families, including my own, are depending on you to take action. So will you be complicit with the deportation and detention agenda, or will you protect me and the immigrant community by passing New York for All and Dignity No Detention? Thank you so much.
Good afternoon. My name is Amy, and I'm a junior in high school from Brooklyn and a youth leader at Make the Road. I'm here today because New York for All will protect all New Yorkers across the state as a young person and immigrant, regardless of immigration status. I believe this bill will help keep families together and allow people to live with less fear. I'm asking our governor and representatives to believe in this bill and stand with us. My mom is the backbone of our family. She has made countless sacrifices, leaving her home behind, her culture, her friends, and loved ones. Overcoming challenges to pursue an education here. Dedicating herself to ensure my siblings and I have every opportunity to get a better education and one day to get into a college and get our degrees. If our family were separated, it will be yet another family torn apart. For me, it will feel like losing a piece of myself. Even imagining it will fill me to devastation, anger, and heartbreak. At school, my friends mean everything to me. We uplift and support each other. Especially through tough times, that connection gives me strength and motivation to show up and fight. It's what drives me to keep up showing, to speak out for all of us. The thought that one of us could be taken away or disappear from our classroom because Trump decided he doesn't want immigrants, it breaks my heart. What system claims to value education, family, and young people, but the same one that tears us away from those things? So many students like me are left feeling uncertain about where we belong in a country where we have called home our entire lives. And with this administration, the fear feels all too real. ICE has stopped people, detained people, even deported U.S. citizens. I'm terrified that one day I could be the one who's targeted, stopped, and questioned. Just because I'm too overwhelmed to respond quickly, I could end up being separated from my family. If New York for All passes, it will give us a better sense of security. I could finally wake up and go to school that the local law enforcement wouldn't allow to be worked with ICE and hold over my information. To all the people over New York, could walk without looking, without fearing that one day we won't have to live in fear with everybody and ICE coming for us students. New York for All is not just a policy, it's a promise that all of us, regardless where we are from, deserve to feel safe and protected. That's why I am here today, standing before you, demonstrating that you pass it, not only for me, but for every New Yorker who deserves to live without fear. No somos uno, no somos 100. Somos millones, cuéntalos bien.
We're nearing the end of our press conference today. And a lot of you all today heard the stories of our communities. Our communities are in pain. We're going to take a moment to honor some of the folks who have been detained, who have been deported and disappeared in our community. The legislature might want us to forget them, but we won't. And so I'm going to invite Reverend Chloe to take us through this moment to honor those who have been disappeared by ICE.
At this time, we're going to have a moment of silence for those many people who have been detained by ICE. And we're going to raise up to you the names of those who we're honoring here today with their photographs as well. So we'll say their names together. For Merwill. If you could repeat after me. For Merwill. For Arby. For Robert. For Mahmoud. Oh God, we ask our prayers, we ask that you would strengthen those who suffer for the sins of others. We ask you to strengthen them, to save them when they are accused from speaking hate, when they are rejected, save them from bitterness when they are imprisoned, save them most of all from despair. And to us, your servants, give us grace and strength to remember their witness, to discern the truth that they stand for, and to never give up until they are free. We ask these things in your holy name. Amen.